Good morning, everyone. We're so glad you joined us again, our Tuesday talk, the HER, Health Empowerment Reset. So we're excited that we're back again with another amazing topic. But before, we'll just introduce ourselves. My name is Martha King. I'm an integrated certified health coach here in Hanover.
I'm Dr. Duarte Ray. I have Core Vitality here in Hanover, and I am a gut health specialist.
Asha?
And my name is Asha Scatchard. I'm a certified Brennan Healing Science practitioner, which means I work with the human energy field. And you could almost say I'm like an energy life coach. And I have a website, energybodyworks.com.
Theresa?
Hey, thank you. Good morning. And my name is Theresa Espenshade. I am a wellness coach specializing in brain health coaching and general wellness, bringing you to your best, the acronym is brain and body, elements and energy, stabilized and synchronized together totally. And you can reach me at truearoma, all one word, AOL.com if you'd like a consultation.
Beautiful. Thank you. So to this topic, Teresa's coming back. She was with us about a couple of weeks ago, and her topic was brain health. But today is about the breath. How important the breath is, something we take so much for granted, and we don't even think about it, our breath, but how we breathe, it impacts our whole overall health. And so we're not doing a good job with that. Many times we're out of breath because of a chronic condition or maybe an acute experience. Then we'll realize, oh my gosh, how important the breath is. So I just want to say two facts that I know about the breath. Did you know there's 1,500 miles of air in our lungs, and we take about 15 to 25 breaths per minute. So anyway, I'm just going to have Theresa take over, and she's going to share us a lot of amazing things about our breath. Theresa, you have the floor.
Martha, thank you so much, because those were two facts that I was not going to say. So that was excellent. That was so complimentary. So I'd like to thank Martha for inviting me today, and welcome Asha and Julie, because I need to refer back to them on the energy level and definitely on the midwifery level with taking our first breath, and the importance of breathing during childbirth especially, and then the aromatherapy element of it also. So yes, if you're watching this today, take a breath in through your nose. Take a breath out through your nose. Most of us wanted to take a breath in through our nose and out through our mouth, which is not exactly wrong. But as we go more into the facts about how breathing actually works, and this is not anything new, this is historically hundreds of thousands of years since we actually as beings started taking oxygen into our lungs, and how that actually works and giving carbon dioxide back out. So, and that's, for most of us, that's what we really think. We think that it is just that inhale and exhale of air from our surrounding territory. And it is so much more than that, and has been studied so much more than that over the course of history. So let's get into a little bit about that. I'd like to think about first that we think about our nutrition, our food, almost all day, usually about 2 to 3 times a day, if not more. We think about our intake of liquids, especially water, hydration, many times during the day. But we rarely think about our breath, and that's nutrition also. And so when you're thinking about it, we can go days to weeks without eating. We can go hours to days without drinking any liquid, but we can really only go a few minutes without damaging our brain, which was my last talk, and most of this will refer back to the brain, and or actually expiring and dying. So we really have to think about that we need to start nutrition first with the breath. And if you can do anything in your lifetime, if you can change anything, modify anything, make anything better, do any kind of work on yourself, make sure that it's breath work first and then extend from there. Because the breath is going to go into when you're eating, when you're drinking, taking in hydration, when you're getting your movement, when you're sleeping. We'll really talk about that because it's snoring and sleep apnea. And when you're doing your social interactions and your spiritual interactions. So it is really body, mind, spirit, and it's historically been studied forever. So in the book, Breath, The New Science of a Lost Art, if you can see that, James Nestor, who is a journalist. Much of my information today has been taken from that. My own journey started in the 70s when I started a yoga class and really started my own journey of breath work. But I have now in the 21st century learned even more because there's so much science behind it now too. So when you think about the breath, you really want to think about, we think about that we're taking breath in, and we think about our breathing through the nose. James Nestor talks about how the art that's really been lost is nasal breathing, that we breathe in through our nose and we breathe out through our nose. And much of what we're doing today that's incorrect from childbirth really on, from when kids are young and actually growing up through the ages, is that we're mouth breathing. And that has been why our health has really been deteriorating. Instead of our health getting better, it's actually getting worse because of one simple thing, because of mouth breathing. In his book, he really talks about that has been and through anthropology, because the human being, man, has changed so much in anthropologically that our jaw has narrowed, our palate has risen, and our sinus cavity is not as large. So we don't have the capability as much to take in as much air as we did historically. But we can still do that if we're training ourselves to be able to breathe properly, and that is through nasal breathing. So anybody out there that's suffering from snoring, sleep apnea, digestive issues, respiratory issues, and especially immune issues. And in this time right now, it's so important that we're making this connection from the breath to our immune response, because mouth breathing is really detrimental to our immunology and our health because of the bacteria that can come in through there. The nose was designed to first take in the air, to clean it, to filter it, and to warm it, and to make it more humid, that we can take the most from the oxygen, the nitric oxide that's coming into our bodies. So when you breathe in, you don't really think too much about it, but notice what happens. It's real. We think about it as our lungs, but it's really this muscle called the diaphragm, one of the largest muscles in the body, the only muscle that a mammal cannot live without. So every mammal on the earth has a diaphragm for breathing, and it's the only muscle we cannot live without. And for humans, it's the diaphragm is not affected by gravity, which is amazing. So we can be in any position and still be using it in any deep way we need to. So when you're thinking about this diaphragm as a muscle, think about it from the brain talk, that we talked about the gut being the second brain. Well, now we know the diaphragm is the second heart, which is really important when we're thinking about noticing our breath work, practicing our breathing consciously. So once again, we'll get our little brain model out. This is where breathing's happening, right here in the pons and the brainstem. The autonomic nervous system, automatically, it's happening all the time. We're not thinking about it. And that's part of the problem, that because of that shallow breathing, that rapid breathing, we're actually inflicting on our brains and bodies more detriment than really needs to happen. And so in his book, James Nestor, who's a journalist and an author, has talked about that the first thing that we need to do, nasal breathing, breathe through our nose, so take a breath through your nose. out through your nose. There will be times when you can breathe through your mouth. We do that if we're exercising. Julie will know we do that during childbirth, and we breathe through our nose. And we purse our lips. And that gentle straw-like exhale that comes out. We're going to talk more about the exhale because people are so focused on the inhale and the oxygen, we've completely forgotten how the power is in the exhale. The power is in that carbon dioxide going out and the nitric oxide that's produced in our nose through nasal breathing, because then we can take in 18% more oxygen. So let's think about that going into our lungs. We're taking that oxygen into our lungs. What's happening is we're not taking it as, because of the way we breathe now, 90% of us, 20,000 breaths a day, we get 20,000 opportunities to think about it, that we're taking it, we're not taking as deep as it can go. And so that diaphragm, and you want to think about that large muscle, when we breathe in, it's flattening down. And that's what pushes the belly down. When you hear, if you take yoga or any breathing practices, that belly breathing, breathe into your belly. And that's what happens because that diaphragm gets to push that belly out. And then as we exhale, that diaphragm can come back up to meet the ribs and the heart, okay, and the lungs. And your belly should actually be contracting back to your spine as far as it can go. That's really taking that deep belly breathing and really taking that oxygen as far as it can go into your lungs, through your ribs, and get that oxygen into your bloodstream and then into your brain where you can get the maximum benefit from it. So as we talk about that, we've talked about the diaphragm. We've talked about how the diaphragm is the second heart. We also want to make sure that we're practicing some of our breathing, and we're going to do that today. So, and then we can talk about when we're doing that breathing, what actually is happening. Because when you're breathing out that carbon dioxide, everybody is really focused on the oxygen, but when you're breathing out that carbon dioxide, which was the first air that bacteria were breathing on the earth when the earth was being formed, when we're breathing that out, we have chemoreceptors inside of the neurons that are right away, they are analyzing how much carbon dioxide is being held in our body. So we know that sometimes we hold our breath, and we know that holding our breath could be detrimental to us. But it actually has some positivity when it's done consciously. Okay, there are breathing techniques that do it actually consciously. And so one of the breaths we're going to do is we're actually going to hold our breath for a couple seconds, and Dr. Weil has propitiated this one about the 4, 7, 8 breath. So we're going to do that one and realize that right away you're going to go into air hunger a bit. You may feel a little dizzy. That's all normal. We have found through that monitoring our breath, controlling our breath, we can relieve anxiety, asthma, attentional disorders, digestive disorders, respiratory disorders, cardiovascular. It's just amazing, and especially the immune response. So let's practice once, because I want to make sure if we get anything done during this talk that we're actually learning, because this is for information, some breath techniques. So as James Nestor talked about, it's nasal breathing, and we want to slow that rate of breath down. Most people breathe 3.3 seconds a breath, and research has found optimal breathing is 5.5 seconds. Some people call it prayer, some people call it meditation. No matter what the culture is, it's about 5.5 seconds as far as slowing that rate of breathing down. The other thing that's really important is that because of our jaws changing and the sinus tracts, we need to be eating more foods where we really chew the foods. So just to put that in there and really think about that, because your face, you know, as you age, doesn't have to get that long, drawn, and really start that mouth breathing, nasal cavity or palate going up, nasal cavity shrinking. We can change that. These facial structure bones can actually change. It's pretty exciting. So let's start with the first one, which is alternate nasal breathing. So alternate nasal breathing, you're going to put your hand over your nose. You're going to use your thumb to close off one nostril and your little finger to close off another nostril. Know that your brain works like an X. So if I want to control the right side of my body, the left side of my brain is doing that. If I want to control the left side of my body, the right side. We know that because of what happens in brain injuries and strokes. If the right side is injured, the left side is affected. And the same thing works with your breathing. So if I close off my right nostril, I'll breathe in through it. If I close it, I'm now taking in through my right nostril, left hemisphere, I'm taking in warm air. As I close that off and breathe out through my right nostril, I'm exhaling that air. When I breathe in through this left nostril, because I'm accessing the right side of my brain, I'm bringing in cool air. Okay, so try it with me now. Ready? Okay, hands on your nose. You will now take you want to just breathe out. You always breathe out first. Close off your left nostril with your little finger or ring finger. Breathe in through your right nostril. Close it off. Open your left nostril. Let your pinky finger go. Breathe out through it. You'll notice that one nostril may be more clogged than the other. That's called nasal syncope, how they go back and forth. Breathe in through your left nostril. Let off your right nostril and breathe out through it. Breathe in through your right nostril. Close it off. Open your left nostril. You can take your two fingers, make sure they're on your nose. When you're first doing this, find what's comfortable for you. Normally, if you see this as part of a yoga practice, you're going to see people just touching their nose gently here, using their thumb and their finger. It could be your ring finger. The important thing is to just get that back and forth, that synchronization between that rhythm. It's actually called nasal rhythm. Your nose, the two sides of your nose have a nasal rhythm, and we're really finding that that has to do with immunology. And you want to just kind of test that in the morning. Breathe through one, breathe through the other. Which is more stuffy, because they are changing for immunology. And if you want to know more about that, that is in James Nestor's book. The next one that I'd like to show you is where you'd be actually holding your breath a bit. It's Dr. Weil made this famous. It is the 4-7-8 breath. The Navy SEALs have a breath which is called the box breath. It's the 4-4-4, which is just 4 counts in, 4 counts hold, 4 counts out. But we're going to do Dr. Weil's because you really get to see how important the exhale is. Okay, so, and you're just, make sure when you're doing any kind of breath work that your feet are just flat on the ground, that your hands are on that are comfortable. Normally if people are in a class, they're having their hands out and they're cross-legged, but you can just be in a chair because you eat 3 times a day. We should actually be doing some breath work 3 times a day. So we breathe in for 4, we hold it for 7, we breathe out for 8. We're gonna practice right now. Breathe in through your nose, nasal breathing. Breathe in through 4 for 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold it for 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The hardest part right now is to exhale for 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And you'll be thinking, oh my goodness, I want to take another breath in. If you're feeling that, or if you're feeling a little dizzy, you're getting that reaction, like I showed you in your brain, where that carbon dioxide, your brain's getting a little panic that it's holding some carbon dioxide and it's not getting enough air. We can override that. You are okay. But that's the reason that you really don't want to do these when you are driving, exercising. Just do your regular breathing then, unless you really have a moment where you can pull over and you just really need to take some time to do this, because you could feel a little dizzy. You could feel a little tingly. That's all really good. You know that it's working. You just don't want to get to a point where you feel like I'm going to faint, because fainting is our way of freezing. Okay, fight, flight. Okay, rest, digest. So when you realize that you're going in your brain from the sympathetic nervous system, where you're all anxious, breathing up here, breathing shallowly, breathing quickly, and your body is saying to you, okay, we got to run, we got to fight, we got to flight. And respiration is quicker, cardiovascularly quicker. You're not digesting anymore. Cortisol levels are up. We know all about how the stress response works. And then think about your parasympathetic system as your good parent. That parent is telling you, it's okay. Everything's going to be all right. We'll figure this out. And you really bring that through your breath, just simply through your breath, that response back. The last one is my Theresa 3-dimension breath. And this is where I probably have been able to go the furthest with my own breath at this point in my life also, after doing this for so many years, is that we learn in 3 dimensions. So we should really be breathing in 3 dimensions. So when I talked about the brain, it was front to back, top to bottom, and side to side. And let's do that with our breath right now. So most people know we breathe top to bottom. But you just take a breath in right now. Watch everybody, our shoulders go up, we know it, they come down. If you watch somebody breathing, you'll normally see their shoulders coming up, their shoulders coming down, which is fine. We know that we're doing that, but we're gonna actually think about that top to bottom a little bit differently. We're gonna engage the belly, which is a front to back, with that top to bottom. So let's do that right now in through our nose. Now really just notice and see how it feels to take that breath down into your belly and bring it up to your lungs. And you'll still feel your shoulders rise. They just won't go to here anymore. So you're taking those 2 dimensions together. So start in your belly. Feel your belly go out. Feel your as we're bringing it up, taking more in, holding it for a bit. Okay, letting it go. Your shoulders go down. Your belly, take that belly button back to the spine. Push as much of that air out as you can. And for the third part of it, which is mine new and has really changed my breathing so much, is to take it side to side. Put your hands on your sides, right up down by where your diaphragm meets your ribs. This time, do the same thing, but expand your ribs and bring your ribs back in. This is where your lungs really go as deep as they can with the air and as strong. We need to make the diaphragm strong and our lungs as strong as they can be to really take that air into where it is. And we're really, those chemoreceptors, as far as the carbon dioxide in our pons in our brain, really is reacting in a totally different way. So this practice makes all the difference when the stress comes on and we do have to breathe naturally, but it's a new natural for us in our breathing. We can override what's happening with the anxiety. So we're going to take a breath in, but you're going to focus on your ribs. So really put your fingers there to feel it. Breathe in through the belly, through your nose. And really push your ribs out if you need to. Push your shoulders back if you need to. Feel it come into your lungs. Your shoulders will move a little bit. It's okay, they just won't be up here. And then let the exhale happen. Feel the shoulders down. Feel the ribs come back in. Feel the belly button go back to the spine and really expel all that air. The best thing that we could do, and I'll involve Julie in this because her talk was about this, was to add some aromatherapy. And so if you have a roller ball, if you have anything with essential oils, if you can just put a bit of that under your nose, on your wrist before you take that, because we know that aromatherapy is the furthest our brain comes to the outside world because of the olfactory bulb. And because it's affecting the emotions in the limbic system, we're going to potentiate and make that breath that's coming in work to its maximum. If we can only do the breath, that's amazing. But if you can add the aromatherapy, which is taking the oldest part of the brain to the second oldest part of the brain, we can really start to engage that prefrontal cortex, planning, prefrontal, remember, planning, focus, and control of emotions. And then the last thing to think about is that energetically, and I shall talk about that, is that each of our organs holds an emotion. And the emotion that's held in the lungs is grief. So and we hold that quite a bit, regrets, grieving for losses. It could be as simple as I can't find my keys and I'm stressed about that right now. And that anterior cingulate gyrus is just going on and on about it. that's where we want to really focus our breath work. So we can release that into our pelvic floor, release it back into the earth, and truly let it go. Not just say we're letting it go, but truly letting it go. All right, I'd like to end my talk with thinking about breathing in with some dialogue. So we're going to breathe in through our nose and say, breathe in peace, breathe out joy. Ready? Breathe in peace.
Peace. Breathe out joy.
Breathe out joy. When you practice, normally it'll be about 3 rounds. People will talk about different rounds, 3 to 10 rounds. Make sure, I would say, it's about quality before quantity. So stick to 3 rounds, but make sure you're really noticing and feeling what's happening in your own body with conscious control. It'll make all the difference in the world.
Thank you. That topic was amazing. Just took my breath away.
And we can talk about that. We take our breath away.
Yeah.
I'm short of breath.
Couple of pointers that you talked about, the type of breath that you talked about, the 4-7-8 breath. I tend to use that, and that works for me, and everyone's different. That induces sleep for me. And also the diaphragm breath is another one that I have just given suggestions to clients, and it just induces sleep. It's just a way that just relaxes everything. Another thing you talked about, the mindful eating, how we, that's something
the whole chapter is chew.
I exercise, exactly. So mindfulness about everything that we do in life, but when it comes to eating, that's another one. That's a topic that is very dear to my heart, and that's something I emphasize with the clients as well. Let me see what else.
Can I say one more thing about that? And the reason that that's happened is because of the industrialization of food, because we've gone from really chewing harder foods to these very soft foods.
Mm-hmm.
So not only mindful about how much you're chewing, but the types of foods that you're chewing. So making sure, and we do this with children so much, that they have so many soft foods, the soft bread, those kind of things, that we're actually having them chew more, more thoughtfully.
So, but anyway, we can just go on and talk about all day about this. This is amazing. So we're just sort of watching our time. So anyone else have any input before we stop the recording here? We're just about out of time. Anyone?
No, I just liked how you said about how breathing is nutrition as well. I thought that was really interesting, kind of a different way to think about how we breathe. And I wrote a note about mindful eating. We talk about that a lot, about people needing to slow down, really chew their food, be more mindful when they're eating instead of rushing through a meal really quickly. So I thought that was a really interesting way to kind of explain that our breathing while we're eating is just as important as what we're eating. So I thought that was good. I'm going to actually steal that and use that.
That's right from our jar, our mandible. Yes. Keeping our faces, our tongue as possible for as long as possible.
Yes. Asha?
I just wanted to add something on the energetic level regarding grief. Everyone has their own timeline with grief, but it does affect your energy field. It affects the chakras to the point that it can distort the chakras, and it not only shuts them down, but it actually can do damage to the chakras. And it's real important to have a healthy energy field so you can self-heal. So there's a lot of components in a human being, and the energy part of it is important, and people just don't realize. But grief is a tough one, and depression. If you're depressed, there's something wrong with your energy field, especially if it's chronic. So that's my piece for that. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, we did run out almost out of time here, so we're just gonna stop here. And like I said, we can just go on and on forever. This is an amazing topic. I want to thank everyone. Thank you, Theresa, for bringing this topic and
Thank you for
explaining
inviting
these
me.
details. And I'm sure you want to come back again for another piece. So we want to thank everyone for your time, and I hope you enjoy this one as you did the other ones. There's going to be amazing ones in the future coming up. So we want to thank you for your time, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye. Thank you so much.